Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History. Spiritual Studies. We're looking at the Impersonal Life, which was one of Elvis's favorite books. He bought it by the hundreds, annotated copies, gave them out to all of his friends and family, the people that he loved, the people that he wanted to spread the word to. And we're going to finish off chapter 4 today. But first, we're going to hear this song, which is about a telegram that Elvis sent to his friend Gary Pepper. Well, it's about a letter Elvis sent to his friend Gary Pepper about a telegram that Gary sent to him. And when we get back, we're going to meet somebody very special that has a very special Bible of Elvis's. And this is Telegram from a Friend. Hello, Gunn. Thank you so much for coming.
The lights came down on Vegas gold. July heat, a crown retold. Applause like thunder, stars alive. But one true friend was not alive. A telegram, a quiet grace. From 12 years deep, a loyal face. I read your words, they calmed the flame. In all that noise, I spoke your name. I wish you could have been here, Gary. The velvet night, the roaring crowd. But in my heart, your voice was steady. A whisper soft, a faith unbowed. 4 more weeks, this fire will fade. I'll find my way back through the haze to Graceland's porch where silence sings and friendship wears no stage or wings. The suits, the gifts, the famous hands, they cheered the king, they made demands. But in the mirror doubt would stare, and only you knew what was there. I wrote you lines in trembling ink, not for the press, not for the drink, just for the man who saw me hold beyond the glitter, past the road. Say hello to everyone, I'll be home when this is done. The curtain falls, the echo fades, but you remain my serenade. 4 more weeks, this fire will fade. I'll find my way back through the hay to Graceland's porch where silence sings and friendship wears no stage or wings.
Thank you for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. And when you listen to that song, do you hear the echoes of the doubts of Elvis? He doubted himself. He had doubts like everybody else. And the path that Elvis walks through the books that we're looking at, this spiritual journey that he takes, it's a narrow path. And on either side are the doubts. And they're constantly assailing the path, trying to push him off. And in that song, he writes about his doubts to Gary Pepper. And in the books, he renews his faith. Now let's take a look at a woman that Elvis knew, a special person. Whoops. Hold on just a second for me. Looks like I've got to make one correction here. Okay. All right, let's go with this. And so somehow I did not get my picture prepped the way that I wanted it to, but we'll still get her face up here. This is Dottie Rambo, and she's a gospel singer. And she knew Elvis personally. She was friends with him. She met him many times. And Dottie, she had a very special Bible made to give to Elvis. And we're going to take a look at it too, because it has a lot of special things that were written in it. So let me pull it up. Just having a little trouble. Here we go. And this is the Bible that Dottie gifted to Elvis. And you can see that it's black leather. And it says Elvis Aaron Presley on the front. It's embossed in gold. And this is a living Bible. That's the name of the translation. So we've been looking at King James Bibles, the KJV, the King James Version, which was written in the 1600s. But this Living Bible is a much newer translation, something that was done in the 20th century, much closer to the 1970s. So it sounded and read in a much more contemporary way. And Elvis felt that this particular kind of Bible, it became his favorite towards the end of his life. He grew up with the KJV, but it's this version of the Bible that he leaned towards in the later years of his life. This particular Bible was published in 1971. And, okay, I've got the story a little mixed up here. This Bible, Dottie did not gift to Elvis. This was Elvis's Bible. He owned this Bible, and I'm not sure how he got a hold of it, but he gave it to Dottie Rambo. So she went to visit Elvis in 1974. And they started to have a conversation. And she was concerned about Elvis because he didn't look well. And she started to talk about his health. And he didn't want to talk about his health. So he started to offer her gifts and wanted to buy her a car. But she did not want a car. So he asked her what she wanted, and she wanted this Bible. Now, Dottie and Elvis were friends who had met through the music industry. And on December 16th, 1973, Elvis recorded the song, If That Isn't Love, which Dottie Rambo had written. So he'd actually recorded one of her songs. I don't think it had been released yet. The performance was released, here it is, on the Elvis album Good Times in March of 1974. So when she's meeting Elvis, this is going on in the background. He's recorded her song. It's being released on one of his albums. And they're having a personal friendship during this period. And Dottie and her husband and some other friends, which included J.D. Sumner, they visited Elvis in his Las Vegas suite. Now, Dottie remembers that this was somewhere shortly after Elvis had recorded If That Isn't Love. So I believe this is most likely during Elvis's first 1974 Las Vegas residency between January 26th and February 9th of 1974. So it's not his first ever time in Vegas. It's just his first time there for 1974. He performed from the 26th of January to the 9th of February. And at some point during that engagement, I believe, is when Dottie, when her story occurs, when she went up and met with Elvis. And as she sat and talked to him, she did begin to ask him probing questions about his health because she was concerned. And Dottie, you know, she wasn't going to let this subject go. Elvis changed it a couple of times, but he then attempted to distract her with the new car. And when she said that she would rather be given his Bible than a car, Elvis gave her this Bible, and he said, according to Dottie, "For all the Bibles I've had, this is the only one I've really been able to listen to. It speaks to me. You might as well read it the way I read it." So this particular Bible doesn't seem to show a lot of wear on the outside. But Elvis is saying that on the inside, it's very special to him. That it speaks to him in a way that the King James Version does not. And I think that many of us who have been following this series, well, we've struggled with some of the King James words as well. It's not written the way that we're used to. The words are strange. They're spelled oddly. They're in a strange order. And sometimes words are translated from the Hebrew in a very direct way, when a more subtle translation may have been better. That the words, the exact words the Hebrews were using, had specific meanings within their culture that could be translated to our culture in a better way, a more resonant way today. And that's what Elvis is picking up out of this Bible. And then Elvis and J.D. Sumner, they each signed and wrote a note in the Bible. And here we can see both of those notes. And on the left side, Elvis has written, Dottie, you are special. Love you forever. Love, Elvis Presley. So that's a very special note that Elvis has written. Dottie, you are special. Love you forever. Love, Elvis Presley. And J.D. Sumner wrote on the other side, on the opposite page, the facing page, he wrote in blue ink. Elvis wrote in black ink. It's hard to see that in this picture, but Elvis is in black ballpoint pen. JD's is in blue, so they used two different pens. But they did this at the same time. And JD writes, a lot of people in my life I have met, and most of them I soon forget. But as sure as God is in the sky, I'll remember you until I die. To Dottie, J.D. Sumner, 1974. So there's another wonderful note from J.D. Sumner to Dottie, heard at the same time that she was given this Bible. Let's look at a little more of the Bible. There's a close-up of JD's note. A lot of people in my life I've met, and most of them too soon forget. But as sure as God is in the sky, I'll remember you until I die. To Dottie, J.D. Sumner, 1974. Now, this is probably difficult for you guys to read, but this is a letter of authenticity that came with this Bible. And it's from, I believe, the grandson of Dottie. And it says, yes, it's signed by Israel. I believe his last name is Anthem, and he's the owner of the Bible at the time that it was auctioned, and he was the grandson. So he was Dottie's grandson. And this is also signed by her daughter, who was the executor of her estate. And this was done in October of 2018, so not all that long ago. And it says, during the 1970s, the Rambos frequently visited Elvis in Las Vegas. So it wasn't just Dottie. It was her daughter and her husband, her family. I don't know how big her family was, but they went with her. And Gunn is saying, so at the end of his life, he bought and gave away this Bible instead. I believe he was probably gifted this Bible, and it was sometime between 1971 and 1974. And then he gifted this in 1974, which is 3 years before he passed away, to Dottie. But what he's saying is that this particular translation of the Bible, this is what's speaking to him now. So I'm sure that he owned other versions of this particular translation. But as of around 1971, maybe slightly earlier, he transitioned from the King James version to this version. Doesn't mean he only read this version, but he liked to read this version. And to go back to this document, it says that Elvis always stayed up until the sun came out, and this night was no different. Several people gathered in Elvis's suite, playing music, eating, and having endless conversation. Dottie was concerned about Elvis's health, and he attempted to distract her by offering to buy her a car. He exasperated, "Name it, I'll give you anything." To which she replied, "I'd like to have your Bible." He had stopped carrying his childhood Bible years before. He had begun heavily reading again, this being his bedside Bible for many of his adult years into the mid-70s. Now, that particular line, I think, is inaccurate. It's not that he had begun heavily reading again. He'd been reading heavily throughout the 1960s. And this may have been his bedside Bible. But I don't think it was prior to later in the 60s. I don't know exactly when. I don't know when this translation became popular enough to have made it to him. But it's not exactly the way that this particular document describes it, but I can see why Israel and his mother would have seen it this way, and how Dottie may herself have seen it that way. And they say this was during a period of transformation and change for Elvis, and that was certainly evident. He returned from his bedroom, and he said, "For all the Bibles I've had, this is the only one I've really been able to listen to. It speaks to me. You might as well read it the way I read it, or the way I read it." He then handed her the Bible, along with a pair of reading glasses in a case. She opened it to find a red bookmark that Elvis had made for himself. "Ever want to use words of encouragement and love?" So what we're being told here is that when Dottie asked for his Bible, he didn't have it in his hand. He went to his bedroom, he got it, he brought it back, and he gave it to her along with a pair of the glasses that he used to read it. And so when he tells her that you might as well read it the way I read it, I think he means with the glasses as well. He's given her the lenses to see the scripture the way that he sees it. Now, that's obviously symbolic in some way because reading glasses aren't going to work the same for everybody. But he's given her the vision to see what he sees. And he's given her the bookmark that he's made for himself, that he's written things on inside the Bible. And these things he's written are words of encouragement and love. The document goes on and says, the J.D. Sumner, a mutual friend who was in the midst of the party, snatched the Bible and signed it as well. She kept it in a secure location close to her the rest of her life, especially in the years immediately following Elvis's death. It has a tremendous amount of character and life to it, carrying Elvis everywhere it goes. So Dottie and Dottie's family have connected this Bible to Elvis himself, and they feel Elvis's presence within the Bible. And she kept it with her her entire life because it was very special to her. Hi, Pat. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And here is the bookmark that Elvis made for himself. I'm not really sure what it's made out of. The piece of some kind of red material. And it's just described as a red handmade bookmark. So I don't know if it's red and that's paper or if that's some kind of leather, but it's been written on with black ink. And it says, and it's Elvis who's written these things on here in black ink. It says 3 breaths, exhale, breathe normally. So I think that's maybe a little mantra for when things become overwhelming, your emotions begin to take control. 3 breaths, exhale, breathe normally. And then it says Christ light, Christ peace, Christ love, Christ within. And these 4 statements, that Christ is light, peace, love, and within, these are the messages that we've been hearing from the book of John and the impersonal life. Now, the Bible itself, Dottie kept this with her. So let's back up just a second. Shortly before Elvis passed away, Elvis signed a contract to record 12 of Dottie Rambo's songs. He did not record them, but he signed a contract that he was going to record 12 of Dottie's songs. So when people say that Elvis had plans for things that would happen post the date of his death, that he was planning for things to change or had ideas about what was to come, and they give you all kinds of plans that he had. They don't ever really give you any proof. But here's proof. And I can't show you the contract, but I can show you the Bible, and I can show you the bookmark, and I can show you Dottie. And I can tell you that people have attested, and I haven't found it yet, but one day I will, this signed contract to record 12 of Dottie Rambo's songs. So that is a plan. It's not a going to Europe plan, and it's not a firing the colonel plan. That's what people like to talk about. But it's singing 12 gospel songs. He's going to record them and he's going to put them out. And I think that follows along with the journey that we've been tracking Elvis on, that he is spreading the word. He has gospel sung before his concerts during this period. And he was making plans, apparently, to do another gospel album. Maybe it was just going to be a few songs, maybe these 12. Maybe he'd spread them out over other stuff, but I think it had to be more than just Dottie. I think he was probably going to record a bunch of them, and he was going to put out an album. I don't know. I just know he was going to record these 12. And Pat says, didn't Elvis have a lot of Bibles? He did. Yeah, I've tracked down 28 or 29, but I know there's at least 35 or so, and I believe it probably stretches into the hundreds. But yes, he did, but this particular translation was in his bedroom at the moment Dottie asked for it. And this is the one he was reading at the time. It had his personal bookmark in it. He gave her his glasses that he read it with, his reading glasses, and he told her that he really, really liked this translation and that it spoke to him. It's called the Living Bible. Let me make sure on that. Yes, it's called The Living Bible. And Gunn says, why give away the only one that talked to him? It's the only translation that talked to him, Gunn, but he could buy many volumes of this translation, and he probably already owned other volumes of this translation because now it was his favorite one. It's just, this is the particular volume that he had in Las Vegas when she asked for it. And he thought enough about Dottie that he went and got the personal one, the one that he was currently reading, to hand to her. Now, I'm sure he sent another guy out to buy the same copy, if he didn't have this translation, to get him another one right away. I mean, I can't prove that, but he wouldn't have been kept from the translation. He was sharing. He was sharing the word. And Luann, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. It is 10:30 a.m. here on Tuesday. And Gunn says, and did he continue to buy, read, and give away the book we are reading after or at the same time? He still continued to give away The Impersonal Life. Larry has a copy, or they auctioned a copy that Larry had, that he says is the last one that he bought for Elvis out of the last batch. And that was in sometime in 1976. We'll look at that one before we get out of this series. It's coming. But yes, he is at this moment still buying these copies of The Impersonal Life and still handing them out. And Gunn's asking, why did he give away? Oh, why did he give her this translation? To tell her that it talked to him? I think to share with her. She's big into the word. And I think he wanted to share with her a new way to look at it. So the Bible itself, Dottie kept, and she treasured this thing. She treasured the Bible that Elvis gave her and stored it near her in a secure location until she passed away in a tragic automobile accident when her tour bus ran off the highway and struck an embankment in 2008 when she was 74. And the details here are so beautiful because at 74 years of age, she was in a tour bus touring around the country, still singing gospel, still spreading the word in her way. And she kept that Bible the whole time. Now, the Bible, it was auctioned in 2018, and it brought in $10,000. And then exactly 2 years later to the day, they auctioned the Bible again. I guess whoever bought it for the $10,000. And it sold for $5,760. So it lost roughly half its value. I believe it went back up for auction because other Bibles had been selling for a whole lot around that period. We'd have to trace the timeline out a little better on it, but I'm pretty sure Vester's Bible had already sold before that for $100,000. I think it even sold before this one sold the first time. So they probably expected to get quite a bit more for it. But for whatever reason, it went the second time and went for a much lower value. The red bookmark itself was also auctioned in 2018, and it brought in $1,500. But there's no mention of what happened to the reading glasses. So I don't know what happened to those. So let me know what you guys thought of that story. I thought it was a beautiful story of a Bible that Elvis shared with another, and how she loved it until she passed away, and about the things that he wrote here that we can see on this bookmark. But now let's move over to the book that we've come here to finish reading. And this is The Impersonal Life by Joseph Benner. Chapter 4. This is where we left off. It says, you cannot now consciously direct or control a single cell of your body, but when you can, at will enter into the consciousness of the I am of you and know its identity with me, then you can control not only every cell of your body, but that of any other body you might wish to control. So the chapter's been telling us up to this point that every atom, every sub-piece of an atom, as small as you could break matter down, every piece of it is imbued with the I am, or the divine. It's all part of a greater whole, and that each part has its own kind of divine intelligence, even the rocks, and that it's about order versus chaos, that the intelligence drives these pieces to work together, and that the larger formations that they create, like an organ, or you could say the smaller subatomic particles that make the atom, or the atoms that make the molecules, or the molecules that make the cells, or the cells that make the organs of your body, each of those rungs up the ladder has its own intelligence that's working with all of the sub-intelligences, because everything's working together, and that your body itself is a massive amount of these intelligent structures that is organized, it's highly organized, and that's what mortal life is. It's the organization of all of these mortal parts in a fashion that we can live, and that it can house the divine intelligence, but that we're not in direct contact with this divine intelligence in our normal, everyday way of living, that we've got to be still and know that I am God, that it is the divine God in your heart that is talking to you. And then you too can become, you're already part of that plan, but you can become a conscious part of the plan. And you can work in tandem with God, and through that divine intelligence, you can control every cell of your body in the cells of all other bodies, because within the divinity, all is one. There is nothing but unity within the divinity, within the divine. Separation, division, these are signs of chaos. And the book says, what happens when your intelligence no longer controls the cells of your body? The body disintegrates, the cells separate, and their work for the time being is finished. The book describes for us the process of mortal decay. After your soul or your spirit has left the body, that's the divine intelligence, nothing is there to keep the body together. The organization has left, the order that was brought through the intelligence has dissipated. Chaos ensues. Separation ensues. And the book says, but do the cells die or lose consciousness? No, they simply sleep or rest for a period. And after a while, unite with other cells and form new combinations. And sooner or later appear in other manifestations of life. Perhaps mineral, perhaps vegetable, perhaps animal. This long, wordy passage that the cells simply sleep or rest for a period. Cells is probably a confusing word to use here. I would have used just something that indicated pieces, not the cells themselves. Because cells is a scientific term that refers to one specific kind of organization of matter. But what it's saying here is that your body, it's restating what's told to us in the Bible, that dust to dust. You're made from dust, you will return to dust. You are made from the pieces of the universe. And when you die, your body will decay and return to the pieces of the universe. And those pieces will eventually reunite. It's a pattern of renewal, and we see it all the time, every day. Like when the rain falls, that water has come from somewhere. It's evaporated from somewhere. It's made it into the sky, and the evaporation is a separation of water from itself. You're separating the gaseous water from the liquid water, and then the gaseous water itself is separating into particles away from each other. And then eventually it will coalesce due to temperature and pressure and stuff like that, and then it will rain. And so that's a form of renewal and recycle, and it's saying that the same thing happens with all the pieces of your body after you pass away. And Gunn says, is this book talking about reincarnation? Jesus never talked about reanimation or reincarnation. He talked of resurrection from the dead. No, it's not talking about reincarnation. It's talking about renewal. The fact that you are made from pieces of stardust, part of the universe as a whole, and your body will return to being stardust, and it will again combine with other pieces, and new people will be formed, or stones, or other aspects of the divine will. But the pieces that form you will never be lost. It's kind of like conservation of energy in science, which says that there is a certain amount of energy in the universe and you can never get rid of it. It just simply changes form. And so there's always an equality in the universe. And that's kind of what this is saying. Not exactly, but it's saying that all the pieces of you will be used for something else. It won't be you. You will never be there again because you are the divine you, and you will have already joined with the divine you by that point, with the rest of divinity. But no, I don't think it's saying you'll be reincarnated. At least it hasn't yet. But it does say, showing that they still retain their original consciousness, but await the action of my will to join together in a new organism to do the work of the new intelligence through which I desire to manifest. So there he's telling us, the I am is saying, I'm going to make something new out of all these bits and pieces, almost as if you're made of Lego. And after you pass away, I'm going to disassemble all of your Lego pieces, and I'm going to make a brand new Lego structure And you were made from pieces of an older Lego structure. But all of these pieces have a consciousness, which is truly me. And they're waiting for me to come back and join them all together into something that is, again, an aspect of my will. The book says, then apparently this cell consciousness is a consciousness common to all bodies, mineral, vegetable, animal, human, each cell fitted, perhaps by experience, for a certain general kind of work. And the book's asking a question, and it appears to be, it's telling us, you're probably asking this question right now, that maybe some of these cells are suited to a particular kind of work. And the book says, yes, this cell consciousness is common to every cell of your body, no matter what its kind, because it is an impersonal consciousness, having no purpose other than doing the work allotted it. It lives only to work wherever needed. When through building one form, it takes up the work of building another, under whatever intelligence I desire it to serve. And so the book is reinforcing that every piece of matter, everything in the universe has the impersonal consciousness, and that it is all there only to do the work that is needed from it, that's been allotted to it. And the book's not limiting this to the cells or the atoms or the molecules of your body or your organs. It's you too, because this is your relationship to the divinity. So Elvis too is a cell of the divine body. He has work allotted to him. The problem with us is that we have this free will on top of it that this book is addressing as the material or the secular you. That would be where your free will resides. But the lower intelligences, like the ones of the atoms and the organs and such, they're there to do exactly what they're doing. And they know what that is, and they do it. And Pat says, I always wonder what happens to us after death. And Gunn says, it's confusing. Which I believe she's talking about this book, which it is. But it told us it was going to be confusing, so it hasn't lied to us about that part. And Pat says that she's hoping that I can, that Matt can help us understand better. I hope that I can. And Gunn said sort of a universal energy then. Yes, Gunn, exactly. A universal energy. If you have seen the movie Star Wars, I would think of this energy as the Force. It imbues all living things. If you've never seen Star Wars, well, then now you could watch it and it would have a spiritual impact for you. Because this is the basic concept that George Lucas stole. Or, I won't say stole, that's a harsh word. He reflected and refracted that particular idea as the Force. Now, I have no idea whether he ever read this book, but he did go to college in California in the 60s, and it would have been almost impossible to escape these kind of ideas in that environment, even if you were in film school. So, and he was kind of a new kind of thinker in the film industry, so maybe he had read this, but it's a very, very similar idea. And even to the point when he remakes the films and adds 3 new ones 20 years after the first one, he adds a part about something being in the cell of each living being, in each cell, and that we all have a certain amount of it, and that's how much of the force that we have in us. So he gets a little more granular on it, but he uses the cells just like John Benner is here. But that's a pop culture reference, and I'm way off track here. Let's reel it back in to the impersonal life. And the book says, after it's told us that these cells are serving the desire that the I am has for them, he says, thus it is likewise with you. You, as one of the cells of my body, have a consciousness that is my consciousness, an intelligence that is my intelligence, even a will that is my will. You have none of these for yourself, or of yourself. They are all mine, and for my use only. Now, my consciousness and my intelligence and my will are wholly impersonal, and therefore are common with you and with all the cells of my body, even as they are common with all the cells of your body. This is telling us the definition of impersonal that's being used within the title of the book. We might think of the word impersonal to mean something that is cold or distanced from the personal, because we see personal as up close and warmth and near us, but impersonal would be something pushed away from that. But in this sense, impersonal is being used to mean not individual. The impersonal is that which all living things have in common, or in this case, I guess, beyond all living things, everything that has the I am, right on down to any formation of order. It's really when any two pieces of matter come together, they form order. And the more that come together, the more order is created. All of those pieces have a certain thing in common, which is the impersonal. Now, the things that we don't have in common, that would be the personal. Those things that you want only for yourself, that's personal. Those things that you want that are good for all of mankind, or all of humanity, that's impersonal. Or at least more impersonal. And the book goes on and says, I am, and being wholly impersonal, my consciousness, my intelligence, and my will, working in you and in the other cells of my body, of which constitute the I am of you and of them, must work impersonally, just as they work impersonally in the cells of your body. And the I am is telling Elvis that if you want to be a conscious part of what I'm doing, of the purpose of the I am, then it can't be for you. It has to be for the purpose of the I am, which is inclusive of many, many others who are your equals within this structure of the I am, like cells in a body. And then unless all of the cells are working together, then the purpose will not be reached, will not be achieved. But if you're going to do this consciously, it's got to be impersonal. Can't be personal for you. And the book says, therefore I and the I am of you and of your brother and the consciousnesses and intelligence of all cells of all bodies are one. So again, a message of unity with everything, with the universe. The book says, I am the directing intelligence of all, the animating spirit, the life, the consciousness of all matter, of all substance. And if you can see it, you, the real you, the impersonal you, you are in, are, let me try this again. And if you can see it, you, the real you, the impersonal you, are in all and are one with all, are in me and are one with me, just as I am in you and in all, and thereby am expressing my reality through you and through all. Again, it's a message of unity and the fact that the I am has all of this working together to reach a purpose, to reach a goal, that there is direction and purpose. And the book says this will, which you call your will, is likewise no more yours personally than is this consciousness and this intelligence of your mind and of the cells of your body yours. The book's telling us again, you've got to stop thinking about the personal of you, that these pieces are you, and you've got to get to a point where you see that you're part of a much larger whole. It is but that small portion of my will which I permit the personal you to use. Just as fast as you awaken to a recognition of a certain power or faculty within you and begin consciously to use it, do I allow you that much more of my infinite power. This passage may have meant a lot to Elvis, because it says, just as fast as you awaken to a recognition of a certain power. Well, that's something you're good at, a talent. When you recognize that you have a talent and you begin consciously to use it. And Elvis had a talent. He was good at singing. And he recognized he was good at singing. He began to consciously use it soon after he graduated high school. Didn't have a massive amount of confidence in himself. But the power to use it better began to flow through him. And then there was a point where Sam Phillips and Scotty Moore and Bill Black and Elvis, well, they cut that first record. And that's when that power began to flow out of Elvis. And Sam said, you're on the right track. And he was talking about the singing and the sound and the songs and the music. But the book is telling Elvis it's so much more than that. There was your talent, the power began to flow through you, and as you believed, it began to flow more, and as you used it in the manner in which I wanted you to, I brought you this great success through the talent. And so I'm sure this would have resonated greatly with Elvis. This one passage. And that's where we're going to have to leave it for today, because we've reached the end of the hour. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And Gunn says that she had seen Star Wars and The Force, and that it was pure fantasy, which of course it is, but that she sees the connection now. And I think there's a lot of fantasy out there that's written and perhaps not intentionally by the person that did it, but like the book is saying here, as another way for the word to reach people, to put them on the path. Because when you begin to think about the force, you begin to think about an all-powerful being and your place within this structure of the force. And that might lead you here to the impersonal life, or it may lead you to the Bible. Eventually, it should lead you to the Bible, but who knows? But for today, I'm going to leave you guys with a song, and it's going to be about Elvis's travel through these books. It's my newest song, Word on Fire. And until I see you all again, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you join me at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. We're going to have more fun telling more stories. And until I see you all again, keep on taking care of business.
He held it close.